When your heart suddenly races and your chest tightens for no clear reason, it's not weakness. It's your brain doing something ancient, automatic, and desperately trying to protect you. You're about to understand, in the next few minutes, what actually happens inside your brain during a panic attack, and why knowing this can help you finally reclaim control. It starts on a quiet night. You're lying in bed, lights off, scrolling casually. The soft hum of your fan the only sound. Nothing is wrong. You're not stressed, at least not consciously. But out of nowhere, a flicker of something sharp cuts through your chest. Your heart thumps once, hard. You sit up. Your breath catches. You can't name it, but something in your body whispers danger. You swallow, hoping the sensation passes. Instead, it grows. Your heartbeat accelerates, your palms sweat, your throat tightens. You suddenly feel like you can't breathe. You stand, pacing, grabbing at your chest, trying to understand what's happening. And then it hits. Oh God, something is wrong with me. Your brain, without your permission, has flipped a switch. This moment, this terrifying shift from calm to chaos, is where our story begins. Because what you're feeling isn't random. And it isn't you losing control. It's your brain's ancient survival machinery activating so fast, so intensely, you mistake it for catastrophe. But if you stay with me, you'll learn what triggers this switch, what unfolds inside your brain second by second, and what it means for your healing. You'll see your panic not as a monster, but as a message. To understand it, let's rewind the moment. Not in your life, but inside your brain. Picture a soft emotional scene. A dimly lit room, the quiet of evening, your nervous system settling down. In a different storyline, you would drift into sleep. But tonight, your brain is holding on to tiny traces of the day. The tension you ignored, the rushed decisions you brushed off, the worries you pushed aside because you didn't have the space to feel them. They don't scream. They whisper. And your brain, built for survival, hears whispers like threats. But here's the twist most people never learn. Panic attacks don't start with fear. They start with misinterpretation. Your brain misreads a harmless bodily sensation, a skipped heartbeat, a small jolt of adrenaline, a flutter of breath, as danger. The alarm center of your brain, the amygdala, wakes up abruptly. Doesn't ask questions. It doesn't analyze. Reacts. And that reaction is the spark that becomes the fire. Let's walk through that fire with clarity, moment by moment. At the core of a panic attack is the amygdala, your brain's smoke detector. Its job is to keep you alive. The problem is, it's not very sophisticated. It cannot tell the difference between an actual threat and a perceived one. If it senses something unusual inside your body, it sends a blast of signals to your hypothalamus. Sound the alarms. Mobilize everything. We are not safe. Your hypothalamus responds by activating the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight engine. Within seconds, your body is flooded with adrenaline. Your heart pounds because your brain is preparing you to run. Your breath becomes rapid because your brain wants more oxygen in your blood. Your muscles tense because your brain expects danger. Your stomach drops because digestion is shut down. Your chest tightens not because you're dying, but because your body is bracing to protect vital organs. And this is where the loop begins. The loop that turns an internal signal into a tidal wave. Because now your body is reacting intensely. The amygdala panics even more. See, something really is wrong. And it turns up the volume again and again. But what about the part of your brain that knows better? What about the rational part, the part that says, I'm fine, this is nothing, I'm okay? That's your prefrontal cortex. Your calm, logical narrator. The problem is, during a panic attack, it essentially goes offline. Blood flow shifts away from your higher thinking centers to your survival centers. You can't reason your way out. You can't think your way down. You can't negotiate with panic because the part of your brain capable of negotiating isn't fully online anymore. This is why reassurance doesn't work. This is why just calm down feels impossible. This is why panic feels like something happening to you, not something you're doing. Now, here's the part most people don't know. And this is where understanding truly starts to give you power again. A panic attack is time limited. The brain cannot sustain that level of physiological arousal for long. Your adrenaline spikes, releases, and burns off. Even if your mind spirals for longer, your body cannot stay in full fight or flight mode indefinitely. The storm feels endless, but it has a biological endpoint. And during that storm, something else is happening, something far deeper, something emotional, something ancient inside you. Panic isn't just a physiological reaction. It's a messenger. Often, it's the body expressing what the mind has suppressed. It might be unprocessed grief, chronic stress, fear of disappointing others, years of self-pressure, or overwhelm you've learned to normalize. Panic pulls all of it into the open in seconds. Think about that for a moment. Panic isn't the beginning of something wrong. It's often the result of carrying too much for too long. Here's where the emotional insight deepens. When that attack hits, you feel alone, trapped, convinced you're broken or defective. But you're not. You're experiencing a very human, very common neurological misfire, one that millions of people endure silently. And the more you fight the panic in the moment, the stronger it becomes. Because panic feeds on resistance. It grows when you label your sensations as danger, tightens when you try to escape it, strengthens when you hold your breath or tense your muscles. It becomes a storm because you're trying to outrun it. And the brain interprets running as confirmation of danger. So what do? What actually helps? Not in theory, but in real moments when your world caves inward. Here's the shocking part that most people have never learned until it's too late. The panic attack begins to dissolve the second you stop treating the sensations like danger. Your brain is not looking for perfect calm. It is looking for cues that you are safe. This is why grounding works. Not because it's magical, but because it communicates safety to the nervous system. This is why breathing helps, not by slowing your panic, but by resetting carbon dioxide levels that trick the brain into calming down. This is why naming what you feel, this is panic, not danger, reduces symptoms. Language activates parts of the brain that begin to come back online and override the amygdala. But beyond techniques, there's something more important. Panic loses its power the moment you understand it. When you know what's happening inside your brain, you stop interpreting the sensations as signs of death or collapse. You stop adding a second fear on top of the first. You stop feeding the cycle. And this brings us back to your story. You're standing in your room, heart racing, chest tight, breathe shallow, fear spiraling. For the first time, instead of fighting it, you pause. You feel your feet on the floor. You place a hand on your chest. You whisper, even if your voice trembles. This is my brain trying to protect me. And something subtle shifts. The panic doesn't vanish instantly, but the wave stops growing. Crest softens. You feel the adrenaline burning off. You feel your heartbeat slow slightly. The room stops spinning. You're still scared, but you're not drowning anymore. You're observing. This moment, this quiet reclaiming of control, is your nervous system reorganizing itself. It's your brain learning safety in real time. It's the moment most panic survivors describe as the turning point in their healing. And healing doesn't mean having another panic attack. It means you stop fearing them. And when you stop fearing them, they lose their power. Now let's close this story the way all good stories end, with clarity. What actually happens in your brain during a panic attack? Your amygdala misinterprets a sensation. Your hypothalamus sounds the alarm. Adrenaline floods your body. Your prefrontal cortex goes quiet. Your body enters survival mode. Your mind spirals because it thinks the sensations equal danger. And then, once the adrenaline burns off, your system slowly returns to baseline. That is biology. But here is the truth behind the biology. Panic attacks don't mean you're weak. They mean you're human. They mean your nervous system is overwhelmed, not broken. They mean your brain is trying to protect you, even if it sometimes misfires. As we wrap up, here's your gentle call to action. If this story helped you understand your panic, share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone. And if you want more grounded, science-based explanations about your mind and emotions, feel free to join this community. Because understanding your brain is one of the most powerful steps toward healing your life. You're not broken. Your brain is trying to protect you. And now you finally understand how.